Andalusia, or Muslim Spain, is a very important place in Muslim history and also in European history. Because Muslims dominated Andalusia for almost 800 years before they were driven out together with the Jews in 1492. I think you will already have noted that 1492 was the year that Columbus is presumed to have discovered America. So for all that period, Andalusia was under the Muslims. The Spaniards themselves call it Andalusia, and the Muslims call it Al-Andalus. And Al-Andalus is made up of these famous Muslim independent cities, or what were independent statelets, including Cordoba, which was a major center of transmission of Muslim intellectual thought from Arabic to Latin and then through Latin. Cordoba was the intellectual center of Muslims, where Arabic was the dominant language. And it was at Cordoba that Muslim learning, both scientific and literary, was created and then translated into Latin, and then from Latin it spread to Renaissance to give life to what we now call the European Renaissance. Without the Muslim input, there would never really have been a Renaissance. And this was this period of what is called Reconquista, where these places that were governed and ruled by Muslims had been taken over by the Christians. And then they tried to change the complexion of the place. And this is where you have the famous Alhambra, the palace that is one of the wonders of the world, that was built by these kingly refugees from Baghdad. The families had quarreled, and part of it decided to leave, and then they ended up in that part of the world and established their authority there. So Andalusia is a very, very important center for both Muslims, Christians, and Jews, because that is where they lived in amity, and where Arabic was the language of communal and interreligious communication. And this had been going on for a very, very long time. And the analogy of Arabic is that of English. Today we tend to associate English with Christianity, although it has really nothing to do with Christianity, because Christianity is a Middle Eastern religion, and this is where it originated from. But now the dominant language, of course, is English. And regardless of one's religious, social, or political, or economic affiliation, we tend to use English as the language of communication. This is where the language again became enriched because of borrowings, from the various components of the culture there. Later, of course, the Muslims were thrown out together with the Jews, and some of them decided to go into exile. Probably the most famous Andalusian was Ibn Khaldun, the author of the 3-volume introduction to history, the Muqaddimah, that looks at history from a non-sacred viewpoint, because he was intrigued by the reasons why civilizations rise and fall. What were the factors that were responsible for the rise and decline of civilizations? And that work is in the realm of political sociology. And it provides very, very cogent reasons for that rise and decline of civilizations that was not based on religious factors. Because initially, people talked about, for example, if you read Tabari's history or that of other Muslim intellectuals, these were received histories, and they were not questioned. They were assumed that whoever transmitted these historical episodes were credible people. But Ibn Khaldun wanted to have something different, an interpretation of rise and decline of civilizations from a purely rational basis. And the Muqaddimah is one of the most interesting anthologies that one can read about. It combines all these elements, and we know, for example, the term charisma actually derives from the work of Ibn Khaldun. The explanation and definition of charisma, comes from the explanation that was put forward by Ibn Khaldun. For example, the founder of a particular state would pass on, after they've long gone, pass on the charisma or the power invisibly, to their descendants. So the example, for example, of the Ashraf or Masharifu, that's a form of prophetic charisma. And the Muqaddimah is highly political, but also at the same time addresses sociological issues. It raises economic concerns, and so on and so forth. So it's a pretty fascinating document. And no one who is educated in the modern sense would be unfamiliar with Ibn Khaldun's Muqaddimah. And at least they would have heard about it. And again, the context for that was North Africa. But North Africa was part of the Andalusian geography. If you go to places like Tunisia today, you cannot not associate it with Ibn Khaldun. Although he didn't only live in Tunisia, but somebody who also went and held important positions in other places. Like he was an important judge in Cairo because of his learning, because of his background, and was considered as a major intellectual of his time. Andalusia has this mystique, not only to Muslims but also to other non-Muslims. And when the Reconquista, or the reconquering of Andalusia took place, the Christians were very, very proud of this, because they felt that the Muslims for 800 years had usurped, the place. And the irony is, in fact, the establishment of Andalusia was the work of groups like Al-Muwahidun, that came to be known as Al-Muravid. These were actually Africans, people of North African background. They were not Arabs as such, but because they converted to, the Berbers, they were Berbers. Because they converted to Islam, they became the public face of Islam. And they are the ones who established the kingdoms in Andalusia. So the history of the Berbers became tied to the history of the Arabs. And the Berbers were not only in places like Morocco, but they were also in Algeria, Mauritania. In fact, that is supposed to be their original home. That's where they came from. And they're also variously called the Tuareg. So the Tuareg are the Berbers of North Africa, and they were the ones who established the Muslim Andalusian caliphates, the little caliphates that were there. Although the original rulers that established the Alhambra, that brought the culture and civilization, came from Baghdad.